Hi, everyone. It's Maureen with Love Louder. Today's guest is Irene. She recently moved, so we've tried it virtually. It's not the greatest quality, and I apologize for that. But she has this incredible story on how she lives with bipolar, and she does it well. I hope you enjoy her story. Take care. Good morning, Irene.
Well, good morning, Maureen. How are you?
I'm
Good to
good.
see you.
It's good to see you. It's been a long time since we chatted.
Yes.
So, and I really appreciate you coming back and trying this again. Our first attempt was lots of technical issues, and even this time, more technical issues. So, we're hoping that this will actually work this time.
This is going to be just perfect. So, what would you like to talk about today with me? Just what brings me here, right?
Yes,
So,
yeah, like last time we talked, it was, and I'd love for you to tell the story so we could actually record. You were talking about your mental health journey. So, are you up for
yes,
talking about that again?
I most certainly am.
Wonderful.
So, well, to be quite honest with you, what I have to talk about is being bipolar. I am bipolar, and I don't really like sharing that with the general public because there's such a huge stigma
Mm-hmm.
that goes along with that. And as soon as you tell people about it, they're gone because they've got their preconceived ideas about it. However, with proper management and diet, exercise, a positive outlook, and my faith with my faith in God, I've been able to handle it quite well, and it's been very manageable. Um, when it so yeah, so however, when you get in conversation with people, I was a healthcare worker, and they will automatically, will discuss our clients and stuff and go, well, they are bipolar. So it's you don't like sharing
Right.
things like that, of course, because it's just so, people are so uneducated about it. However, I mean, I was uneducated about it as well. I thought being bipolar, that would have been the worst thing ever until it happened to me. And how it first started was when I was 32 years old. I got postpartum, where I had postpartum psychosis actually, and I was in a psychiatric ward because I lost touch completely with reality. And so I thought I was Eve in the Garden of Eden, where people with that do have a psychotic episode, they they can have a highly religious experience. And that's what happened to me. And in the hospital, at times I thought, okay, I'm not Eve. Maybe I'm Moses come back to life. And I saw the holy city. It was shining sunshine one day in the hospital, and I thought, oh, look at the holy city. And I thought Jesus was coming back, and through and I thought, this is it. And I saw the TV, it was actually speaking to me, um, ideas of ideation. And yeah, I lost it completely. And it took about 3 weeks in the hospital to get me settled with medication and get me in my right mind. However, I still wasn't there. I still couldn't take care of my baby, and they had me on medication that I reacted to all the medication they had put me on. I had Parkinson-like um, shakes. I couldn't eat, so I had anorexia. And this was the medication stelazine. And if you look up the side effects, I had them all.
Hmm.
So when I was brought home, I couldn't hold my baby. I couldn't take care of my three children. And if anybody knows me at all, my children were my life. I mean, uh, my family was number one. Um, so to take that away from me was the worst thing that could ever happen. But I still had a faith in God, and I knew that God was going to heal me.
Hmm.
Now, along with all the side effects, I had chronic insomnia where I couldn't sleep either, so which made matters worse. So, my mother finally took me to the doctor, and the doctor literally told me that I had lots of support and what was my problem, and keep taking my medication like a good girl, and and be done with it. So, I mean, the doctors know everything, right? They are they are, next to God, the smartest people on earth. So I continued with this road for a few more months but it was terrible. And my husband, he couldn't deal with it either. My mother-in-law would take care of the baby during the day, and my mother would take my older two children to daycare and her daycare, in fact. And then uh, yeah, I still couldn't sleep. I'd be speed walking. That's another medication side effect. And I had a stone-like face where I couldn't smile. But I knew in my faith, because it had been planted inside of me for many years, that God was going to heal me.
Hmm.
I didn't know how, I didn't know when, but I'm also a private person. I didn't want anyone to see me that way, this way. And it was deep shame, right? I mean, you're crazy, right? Who wants to be around a crazy person,
Hmm.
right? So, anyways, time went on, and finally, my mother just packed up our household to her house. And I was smoking like a chimney as well. That was that was that was one thing that I did. It was terrible. And finally, I said, Mom, I want to die. And so she brought me to the emergency ward because I was totally at risk. And the doctor took one look at me in the emergency ward and said, What are you on? And my mom was smart. She took all my medication, said, This is what she's been having for 4 months. So he says she needs to get off of that right now. She had postpartum psychosis. So take her off completely. She's going to be like a drug addict, withdrawing. And and that's exactly what I did. I you know and another thing he said was the damage that has been done is probably going to be permanent.
Hmm.
So that was a pretty horrible thing to hear. And what was I going to do with my beautiful babies? So I'm brought home, so at my mom's, and it comes up. through counseling, that, the abuse I endured as a child, how my bullying and that had happened. And, because I had internalized it all. And people with bipolar, sometimes it's through trauma. And I had trauma where I internalized everything and I never let anybody know what had happened to me growing up. I
Mm.
mean, I was attacked. I kept it inside, didn't tell anybody. I was bullied terribly, didn't tell anybody. So it all came out. And my husband was also really heavy into um, music. And he would travel the country and leave me, and we were very poor. He's not like that now. We've got a fantastic marriage, just to put that aside. Um, all our money, we were very young when we got married. Um, all our money would go to recording. So we were very poor, and I had that to deal with as well. So raising, these kids, and my husband worked 3 months out of the year, then he'd go across the country and play his music and spend all our money and then come back and go to work. And so it was stressful. It was very stressful. So the doctor would ask me these questions and he would go, "And how's your husband's music?" And I would change the subject. And he'd finally said, you know, um, well, that's for later. We'll get back to that. So, but we're still at my mom's. I'm withdrawing from the drugs, and she takes me out to Main Island to my to her best friend's cabin. And since my husband was traveling all the time, she knew that, you know, um, life wasn't, our marriage was not good at the time. So she said, like, I'm gonna build you, in our house, a basement suite for the three kids and you. And, but I knew God chose Gene, my husband, for me. So I didn't know how. I thought he hated me. So how can
Wow.
he choose him? Like, he treats me terrible. So but my husband had a Holy Spirit moment too, like when I went psychotic, and he knew he was going to change his life too, and he gave his life to the Lord. And that was the beginning of our relationship that we have now. And and I made a commitment, like, Lord, like, I'll do anything. I just need to be healed. But it wasn't happening right away. And I could see the difference in my husband really trying. So when my mom asked me, "Do you want to move in, you know, back home?" And I just said, no, I'm not going to. So I went back home, but I still had all the symptoms because, I didn't know if I was ever going to get better. But deep inside, I knew God was going to heal me. So finally, I would phone people. Like, I'd get up in the morning and I'd frantically phone people, "Pray for me, pray for me, pray for me, pray for me." And then the my pastor's wife called me one day and she goes, "Irene, God's going to heal you." And I went, "Oh, I know he is, but it's certainly not happening now." And he says, "Well, Friday night we're having a healing service, and you're the the guest of honor. So, so I went, and I remember the ladies just gathering around me. And I could feel the
Mhm.
Holy Spirit. And I knew I was better. So
Mhm.
I got up that I went home. I went home. My neighbor drove me. She was part of the church as well. And I still didn't sleep, but I had this peace.
Mhm.
And I got up, and my husband was ready to take the baby to my mother-in-law's, and I just said, "Nope, she's staying with me. I'm fine." And I smiled for the first time in 5 months.
Mhm.
I cooked a breakfast that day. My husband, I said, "You can go to work." I says, I'm actually gonna take care of our kids. I'm gonna walk them to school today." And I did. I walked my kids to school with Vanessa in the stroller. And and the kids couldn't believe it. I smiled, we laughed, we talked, and Vanessa and I, we baked all day.
Mhm.
And that was the first time that it was a party at the end of the day after school. So yeah, so the Lord did heal me, but I still had a lot of healing to do. The Lord healed me that would function, but I still had issues I needed to deal with emotionally. And that was where the counseling came in. And I was also put on a different medication, some antidepressants that the doctor, you know, um, prescribed. And I needed those because there's nothing shameful about having medication.
Mhm.
So I took them, and they seemed to be fine. But anyways, the doctor every week I went, and he'd ask me the same question, ask me a bunch of questions. How's your husband's music? How's your husband's music? And I just said, I am really sick and tired of you asking me that darn question. That's after a year of going. And he goes, "Oh, it only took me a year to get that out of you." And he goes, "Tell you what, you don't need that medication. You don't need as much medication." I was on something like, you know, 3 in the morning, 2 in the night. He goes, "We'll cut that down in half." So, anyways, I got weaned off of that medication very slowly by the um by the counseling that I had, and he was just fantastic. But then, so after a while, I didn't need any medication, and I opened up. I just thought, you know what? I'm just gonna start my own. I'm going to start taking care of myself, and I did. I started my own business. So people with bipolar can survive, and I wasn't on medication yet, and then I started my own daycare. Everything was great. Um, we, yeah, life was great. And then as time went on, after we bought our first house, and after a few years in that home, the church asked me to start a daycare, a preschool, and an out of school care program. And so I did. However, I was burning out, and I did not listen to that inner voice
Mhm.
that said, "You need to get out of that." Danger. Always listen to your body,
Mhm.
because this is where I fell into problem. When you don't listen to your body, and I burned out so badly that once again, the insomnia started. And I, yeah, one day I woke up and it was just, I thought I was Queen Esther. So thank God it happened at home and not at work. So yes, you know, yeah, I was brought to the hospital yet again. So this is 14 years later after the last episode. So it was very good indication that yes, in fact, I was bipolar. So I've been put on medication that I stick to because I firmly believe God put doctors on this earth for a very good reason, and I do not go off of them. But I also take very good care of my body. I eat right, I exercise, get the right amount of sunshine, drink lots of water, and when my body tells me to rest, I rest. And I'm very grateful for the things I do, but I am very private. I don't tell people my diagnosis very often. So, but I'm very pleased to share it with Love Louder. And I hope I can help another person that's gone through the same thing.
Well, thank you. That's quite a journey. So, a couple of questions that, well, one question right now that popped into my mind was before before you had your third child, was there any indication before that that when you look back, could you be like, oh yeah, okay, I can see why that, or was it strictly the postpartum psychosis that triggered it out of the blue?
That's a very good question. When the more I think back, yes, I
Mm.
was a depressed teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I would just be so, so, so incredibly down.
Mm.
And yeah, I do remember that it did show up when I was a teenager.
Right.
And I was very down. And then when I was happy, I was very, very happy.
Right. So you had extreme highs and lows
Extreme,
and
extreme highs and extreme lows. So
right.
yeah, the symptoms were there.
Right. But
So
when you were that age, there wasn't a lot of knowledge
no,
regarding mental health issues. I mean,
no.
thank goodness that's, you know, come a long way. There's still a long ways to go, but there's a lot more understanding now. But it's
Hmm.
funny, like you say, how there's still that stigma attached.
There is that stigma attached for sure, for sure. And I remember the my family physician. She goes, "Oh, how's it going?" Like just general. It was a very nice gentleman. How's it going with your medication? And I said, oh, it's going great. And he goes, sometimes. First of all, I was a bit offended, and I thought, well, why am I offended? Because
Mm-hmm.
he's right. He says, I bet you wish you were on this medication, you know, for years, your life could have been a lot smoother.
Mm.
And I have to agree
Right.
that, yes, if I would have just,
Yeah, but you don't
it
know.
would, no, you
How do
don't
you don't
know.
know what you don't know?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So you can always look back and say, oh yeah, I should have done this different. I should have done that different. But that's just all part of our journey, is it not?
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So the
Yeah.
medication that you're on now, how long have you been taking that one then since?
I've been taking it for 18 years now.
Okay. and it's obviously working and
It's
stabilized and
working great, and I'm monitored, twice a year by the doctor. And
okay. Do you see a counselor, psychologist, psychiatrist, anything?
well, I've been stable for 18 years, so it
Okay.
doesn't look like, anything. And I'm very aware of my body.
Right.
Believe me.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
mean, if I haven't exercised in a day, I'm making sure I'm working
Okay.
out.
Oh, it's
If
that
the
regimented.
weather's, yeah, if the weather is ugly, I mean, there's YouTube
Right.
videos. I'm doing it.
Oh,
And,
good for you.
yes. And, eating right, that's very important.
Right.
Um, yeah, and just my faith in God, you know,
Right.
like,
It
like,
upholds you.
yeah, and just changing your way of thinking too.
Right.
It's like I remember, like, as a young person, I was a very negative person.
Right.
And I think that can pull you into, and that can be an attributing factor to being bipolar,
Right.
is this negative attitude.
Right.
And it's just like, like, there's things that are positive in this world too. And just let's focus on that,
Right.
you know, but everything that's praiseworthy, think on these things.
Right.
And I think that has become, what I try to do. Think on these things that are praiseworthy and trustworthy, and do that, rather than, oh my goodness, look what Prime Minister Carney's doing now. Look what President Trump's doing. It's like, it's just,
Yeah.
it is.
There's lots to be scared about. There's lots to be negative about.
Yes.
So, what about your community around you? Like, do you have I mean, obviously, your husband has been a big support, even not perfectly, but he's, he didn't leave, he stayed. You
He
guys worked it
stayed.
out. But what other community, like what other eating well, drinking water, exercising, practicing gratitude, anything else you do for your um, mental health?
Well, I think becoming part of a church family. I retrained myself. I became a healthcare worker, and I loved it. So I made some very good friends. And I just surround myself with loving friends and my church family. Now we moved here to Alberta, so we're just getting to know a new church family, which is really hard to do.
Mm-hmm. It is hard
So,
to do. It always is hard to find new community and new friends, and at any stage, it seems.
but introverted me, I've learned to become bold.
Oh,
I
good for
mean,
you.
we were getting our driver's license changed from BC to Alberta, and I noticed another girl in there with BC license plate. She was changing over as well to Alberta, and I went, "Oh, you're from BC, so am I. Hey,
Yeah,
do
right.
you
Just,
know anybody yet?" And she went, "Actually, I don't." And
oh,
I went,
funny.
"Hey, you want to hang out?"
Oh, good for you. Oh, that's very brave.
Yes, so we've been hanging out once a week.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh,
Yeah,
that's so good. That's
yeah.
so good. Thank you so much. Is there any other thoughts, encouragement that you would like to share with other people? Any information that kind of came to you as you were talking that you wanted to share?
No, just keep positive. I think have a faith in God, like that's key. I
Right.
think that really, really is key, and he's got your back.
Even
Uh,
though it didn't feel like it for a long time.
no, it didn't feel like it, only because I didn't listen.
Right. But when you're
So,
not in the right frame of mind, it's pretty hard to listen. Like it's
exactly.
and when people say, well, keep a positive attitude, did that happen for you before you were on meds or after you were on meds?
Well, a lot of people, when you're really down, I think, yeah, actually, this is worth talking about. When you're down, a lot of people just snap out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's wrong with you? And it's like sometimes it's you can't.
Yeah.
It's like you're in a deep pit and you can't get out.
Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah. So what do you do?
So what do? Right? So
So
it's just one step at a time. And, take those steps. Think of one thing you can be positive about, and another thing we're sharing is like get dressed every day. Like
mm-hmm.
it's always tempting when you're really down to stay in your pajamas, close the curtains, and, don't answer your phone or, don't reach out. Reach out,
Right.
reach out, get dressed, put your lipstick on.
Right.
Like, yeah, yeah. Jean and I will go for a walk and I put lipstick on and, I go shopping. I've got my makeup on, it's
Right.
like, yeah, it's just, no, I mean, I'm not saying y'all have to wear makeup. I'm just
Right.
saying, look your best,
Right.
brush your hair, like get a haircut, like just look your best.
And I think that's an important piece, actually. I know for me, when I've gone through my low periods of time too, right? Like I always get my hair done.
Yeah,
And at one point, I go for massage every month. And at one point I was getting my nails done. Like I'd go for a pedicure and stuff like that. And those things seem ridiculous, but you know what? They made me feel better about myself.
yeah,
And it doesn't have to be expensive things. Like it could be, like you said, put lipstick on and go for a walk, right? As hard as that is, it builds that resilience back up again. And I think the other thing that you really mentioned, I think is extremely important, is to reach out to somebody.
yes, yeah.
Um, and hopefully that somebody is a positive person in your life and not
Mhm.
somebody that's full of drama and willing to drag you down and stuff. Like you need a positive community around you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and 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 cry out to God. You know
Mm-hmm.
what? If no one's available for you today, like explain to God, like this is really bugging me. Like, I'm sorry, Lord, this doesn't make sense.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like, come on, like he's got big shoulders and he can take it,
Yeah. Yeah.
and in his word, there's a lot of scriptures that you can s- put sticky notes on your mirror. You get up. I am fearfully and wonderfully made, you know. Um, he knows the number of hairs on my head. Um, Pin them up on your wall. And when you're feeling down, you may not believe it, but there it is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. And
written down.
you may not
You
believe
may
it.
not.
Did you ever go through the time where you were like mad at him and just like ranted and raved at him and pounded your feet, whether physically or metaphorically?
I don't think there's a person on earth that hasn't. Like, I mean, if he could only do it my way, right? Like,
Right? Yeah.
the
Yeah.
world
But
would
I know
be
when I
so
was
much
little, I was taught like that was so disrespectful. And,
Yeah,
you
me
should
too.
never talk to God that way. And I'm just like,
No.
uh, I've since learned that that's not true. Like you said, he's got big shoulders. He can take it.
Yeah, he does. I mean, you look at a toddler, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, that's what we are to God, right?
Yeah.
We're like children, and that's how we need to come to him. Like, Lord, uh, Lord, like, this really sucks. And and look at the temper tantrums. They feel safe. We
Right.
need to feel just as safe as that toddler having a temper tantrum
Right.
with God.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then of course we need to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But that's manners, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
normal,
Yeah.
you know.
This is amazing. Thank you again, Irene, so much for sharing and being able to just be vulnerable and being able to encourage people that there is hope, even when there doesn't feel like there's hope. There is somebody out there that loves you, even when you don't believe that there's somebody out there that does. And yeah, it's just it's hard to get through, but there is always hope that you can get through it. Someday, somehow, somewhere, someone will help you.
Exactly.
So thank you again so much
You're
and
welcome.
enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.